Today on History You Should Know, the most dangerous moment in human history and the savior you've probably never heard of, Vasily Alexandrovich Arkhipov. Tap on the playlist to access all history episodes. Watch in clear mode. Tap and hold the screen and select clear mode so you can see the video in all its glory. Noong 1945, ipinakita ng US ang lakas ng atomic bomb na ginamit nila sa Hiroshima at Nagasaki. This put Stalin and the USSR on notice. So the Soviet Union decided to unlock the power of the atom and build their own nuclear arsenal. Ganon din ang US. They kept making developments and new scientific breakthroughs to stay ahead of the Soviets. These actions led to the next chapter of world history, the Cold War. The US and USSR emerged from World War II as the two superpowers. There was no conventional warfare in the Cold War, as in tanks, guns, infantry. Instead, the battles were fought in the shadows with spies and meeting rooms with politicians. It was all mind games, intimidation, and a war of perceptions. It wasn't about using the bomb, it was about making the enemy think that you are ready to use it. The measure of power was based on how many nuclear bombs one country owned. The rest of the world could only stand by and watch nervously. The two superpowers not only produced more bombs, but also made them exponentially more devastating. The US stockpiled and made more nuclear missiles. And in October 1961, the Soviets tested the most powerful bomb ever detonated in history. Fat Man, yun yung binagsak ng mga Amerikano sa Nagasaki, was 21 kilotons. The Tsar Bomba in 1961 recorded 50 megatons. That's equivalent to 50,000 kilotons. Nagmukhang rebintador lang yung Fat Man. And both countries had thousands of these bombs. Pero pagdating sa range, lamang ang US. They had missiles in Turkey that had Moscow in range of a nuclear strike at any given time. That was their advantage, or so they thought. October 1962, an American spy plane flew over Cuba and discovered President John F. Kennedy's biggest fears. The Soviets were building nuclear sites right in their backyard. Ngayon, abot na rin sila ng missiles. Advantage gone. Bilang solusyon, naglagay ng naval blockade ang Amerika sa paligid ng Cuba para pigilan ang lahat ng barkong papasok at lalabas ng bansa. The US also demanded for these nuclear sites to be destroyed, not knowing how the Soviet premier, Nikita Khrushchev, was going to respond. Humanity was on the brink of all-out nuclear war. For 13 days, the world was petrified by the uncertainty of the Cuban Missile Crisis. But before either world leader could make a decision, the fate of the world fell on the shoulders of one man. And it happened not in an office, but beneath the surface of the water. October 27, 1962. The Soviet submarine B-59 was somewhere near Cuba. Now, as a mental exercise, imagine mo, ikaw yung kapitan ng submarine. You've been underwater for almost 2 weeks. Your vessel is cornered and you're doing your best to escape the enemy. Your communication systems are cut off and you are on your own. Sira ang ventilation system and the temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. Sa paligid ng submarine, naririnig mo lang ay pagsabog ng depth charges. Para kang nasa loob ng isang bakal na drum tas paulit-ulit na hinahampas ng malakas yung paligid ng drum. You have two choices. Surface and surrender to the enemy or fire back with your secret weapon, your very own nuclear torpedo. If you chose option 2, that was also the choice of the Soviet captain Valentin Savitsky and another senior officer. Savitsky thought the explosions meant that the war probably already started. Nababaliw na siya sa dami ng explosions na ginusto na lang niyang gumante para hindi sila mapahiya. But for the launch to happen, it needed a unanimous yes from 3 senior officers. And they only needed one more yes. By the way, hindi alam ng mga Amerikano na meron silang nuclear torpedo. For them, they just dropped the charges around the sub to get it to surface. Now, the reason why we are still here today, how you're watching this video, how I'm talking, and how you're scrolling through social media is because that third officer said no. Faced with the most difficult decision under the extreme stress and pressure, the quiet and reserved Vasily Arkhipov chose to control his emotions. He reasoned with the other captain and convinced him that the charges weren't meant to destroy their sub because hindi pa sila tinatamaan. He thought it was a signal to surface. At dahil wala silang communication systems, yun lang ang paraan para makakommunicate sa kanila. Arkhipov succeeded in calming down Savitsky and eventually encouraged the more rational option of surfacing. And once they did, the Americans didn't inspect the vessel. It was just ordered to go back to the Soviet Union, which it did. It took 50 years for the Americans to find out that there was a nuke on that submarine and how close they came to annihilation. In the following days, the Kremlin and the White House resumed their negotiations.
Kennedy and Khrushchev decided to take a step back and take the diplomatic route.
The USSR pulled out of Cuba, and in exchange, the US removed their missiles in Turkey. Now, while those decisions were what changed the course of human history, the one person who bought time for the entire human race was Vasily Arkhipov. Sadly, Arkhipov wouldn't be honored for his actions in his lifetime. He died in 1998 and was only given recognition in 2017. I believe in letting everyone know that without his bravery, who knows how many lives would have been lost. When the bombs and machines threatened all human life, it took one person under pressure, under extreme stress, going beyond politics and uniforms to use his humanity to give all of us more time. While I believe that there are people capable of heroics like Vasily Arkhipov, may there never come a time for us to need saving from nuclear annihilation. Nobody wins in that scenario. Follow for more, and boom! Now you know.